Meeting open. I'll check the roll here. Commissioner Hill is here. Vice Chair Scooby is here. I am here. Commissioner Ashley is here. Commissioner Prosis is here. And our council member, Barbara Arms, is here. Thank you all very, very much for coming today. You did hear from Louis. Louis was excused from today's meeting. And so here we go. Okay, the second item of business is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion has been approved or put forth and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're good there.
We're going to try.
Okay.
We're the new girls.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the August 11, 2025 Marina Advisory Commission meeting minutes. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes of that meeting. Are there any additions? No, I have one bit of follow-up to that. I mentioned and it was recorded in the minutes that I would check on the margins for fuel pricing. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but it's a pretty well-kept secret, I will tell you. Not a lot of people want to talk to you about it, but I did find a harbor master down in Everett, Donna down in Everett, agreed to talk to me about that because they have a full-time fuel dock attendant, so that they didn't have to split time, and so it was very easy for them to analyze where they were. And the numbers were surprising. They make between 17 and 18% net margin on gasoline, and between 13 and 15% net margin on diesel. So we're not at a line with what we're making, right? Didn't you analyze, Bruce?
Well, yeah, except that ours doesn't count labor costs.
I thought ours did count labor.
No,
okay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
no,
all right.
That's cost of goods.
Then that's something we have to look for. We have to dive further into right now, because so we have an idea of what and they probably pump a lot more fuel than we do, and they do have a full-time attendant. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes from August 11?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're good. Okay, at this time, this is my favorite time of the meeting here. We have it's time for public comment. So we have some members of the public here today, which is wonderful. And that during this time, we would ask that you come to the podium, state your name. We have a 3-minute maximum, but we don't hold you anything. If you want to get into it a little bit further, we'll certainly do that. And then we will comment on, we have 3 electronic comments that were received. So we do have members of the public, and if you'd come to the podium and introduce yourself and state your business, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Lorraine Brown. I've been a tenant for the Marina for over 12 years. I come here today to inquire about the mobile pump-out service that the Marina used to provide but stopped during COVID. The mobile pump-out service was greatly appreciated benefit that I would like to see offered again. I have been told that grant funds were utilized to purchase the boat and the equipment that did provide the pump-out service. I did a quick research before I came here today and found information regarding grants that are available from the Clean Vessel Act to purchase boats and pump-out equipment, but I could not find a complete list of the grant recipients, so I can't confirm if the City of Oak Harbor or the Marina has received funds to purchase the boat and the equipment to provide that service. Although, if the Marina did receive grant funding to purchase the equipment and provide this service, I would like to know if and when that service will be available to the tenants again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are there any additional public comments?
My name's Stephen Dahl, and we have been tenants of the Marina for the last 3 years, and I can't say anything more than what Lorraine just said, so I'm just here to support her getting the pump out back and working or started it back up, because the money was provided and I think it should be used to use the pump out service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to use my position here to make a comment along those lines. I knew that this might be brought up again, because if it wasn't brought up in public comments, I was going to bring it up myself. We are the only marina that I can find that advertises themselves as a clean waters marina, clean marina recipient that does not provide any sort of mobile pump out, either at slip pump out or on the water pump out. We did it. I think Mrs. Brown is correct in the fact that we did receive funds for the boat and for the pump out equipment, and we're not using it for that reason. So we need to either address that as a commission and with the harbor master and the director of Parks and Recreation. So that's all my editorial comment is about that. Okay, and we did have 3 online submissions for public comment. I hope everyone got an opportunity to read that. I did find it interesting that someone would want us to figure out a way to get the driftwood out of the entire harbor area. I think that was an interesting comment and a wonderful aspirational goal. However, I'm not exactly sure how that might take place. Okay, does anybody have any comments about the public comments we've heard today, or any of the ones that were submitted online? Well, everybody's really quiet today. And don't be checking your phones for the Mariner scores, all right? Okay. All right, let's move along to section 5, which is the discussion, the subcommittee restructuring. I think that's the harbor master.
So I was looking to restructure the subcommittees. Currently, we have a short-term project and a long-term project subcommittee. However, I'm finding the long-term project committee, it's hard to give action items to, because they are so long-term that I'm ending up just telling you the updates of everything, and then you just reshare that same information in this meeting. And so that one, for me, stepping into the role with that committee already being established and not really understanding your purpose doesn't seem to be functioning the way I think it may have been supposed to. So if that is incorrect, I would appreciate feedback from you. Otherwise, I'd like to establish it as a projects committee and a community engagement. And that community doesn't have to be downtown or out of the marina. Community could mean a marina community. How do we better educate the marina with any rate changes, any pump out updates, any grant updates? How do we get the community more involved with what we're doing? Because people don't want to protect something they don't think they can use or that they can be a part of. So I'm open to your discussion and your feedback.
Actually, we've had discussions, and I had brought this up too. I always look at a subcommittee or a group of people as you need to be able to have a function, to do something, have actionable pieces to what you do. And I think it would be better served if we did have a project-centric group that really took a turn on assisting with those types of things, large and small. And then another group that would turn and kind of be the face outward, looking at both the marina tenants and the population at large, to be able to just really engage with us. I mean, all of these things that we're coming up with are wonderful, but we need to have actionable events. We need to have help doing those events. And I think the subcommittee could be a key part in that. So that's my thought.
Anyone else?
I would agree with that. I would say that it wouldn't be appropriate for us on this commission to go apply for federal grants or something for a long-term project, but it's totally appropriate for us to go to the grocery store and tell people to go to the marina. I think that's the kind of things that we can do that make a big difference.
Yeah, well, I think we discussed a little bit at our meeting that we really need to get the marina tenants more informed on what we're doing. And I think, as long as I've been here, and that's been a long time, I don't recall that we have ever had a marina-wide tenants meeting. There may have been one many, many years ago that I can vaguely recall, but I think right now there's a lot of misinformation about our marina. There's rumors that the marina is going to be shutting down. Nobody knows when and if the dredging is going to take place. And I think it's very important for us to communicate those kind of things to the marina tenants. And I'd like to see us do that in the form of I think a marina-wide tenant meeting is the best way to do it, probably.
I would agree, Byron. I think a marina-wide, there hasn't been one since I've been here. That's 26 years in the marina. We've never had a marina-wide tenant meeting. I think it would be appropriate, except for the fact that right now, I think if we had a marina-wide tenant meeting, all we would hear would be complaints. And I say that not complaints about the marina itself. I think the complaints would be focused on the rate increase. I think there would be complaints about the condition of certain docks. I think there would be complaints about the fact that once it starts freezing, the water is going to be turned off in certain areas of the marina. And I think these are all things that we know. But it might be a great idea just to give an opportunity for people to vent and talk about it. And who knows, they may come up with something we haven't heard before. Yeah, Kathy?
I think that I'm solidly in favor of this plan, Elise. And I think that the long-term folks who would be doing that would need to set a plan for, you're going to have a meeting and then what? Rather than, yeah, let's go have a meeting. Why are we going to have the meeting? What's going to become of what we get? What are we going to do with that information? What if it's all complaints? What if it's all happy news? The whole deal, so that we're not just, from the events side of it, we're not just having event after event after event with no real theme, no real overarching purpose. And that group would have to come up with, why are we going to do it? And what do we do after that with it? So that's mine.
So I agree with you. I look at complaints as opportunities. I really do. It might be frustrating to hear what you already know, but that's what we know. That isn't necessarily what the people who would attend that meeting would know. And it gives an excellent opportunity to do this, to take those ideas, those complaints, and turn that into a positive. Where you can say, okay, these are the things we can do, and these are the things that we're working toward, but are going to be hard. I just think that it's well worth it to have an annual meeting.
Go ahead, Dave.
One thing that in my work we ask customers is if they had a magic wand, what they could do. And I think if we went to marina tenants and said, if you had a magic wand, what would you change about this marina? We might find some things that are very easy to fix. And that would be quick wins that would get tenants feeling good about how the marina's operating.
Yeah, I completely agree. I didn't mean to be negative about, I honestly think we should do that. I would love to have, and we could probably figure out a way to do that at the yacht club upstairs and figure out a way to get that done. Whereas where the staff and the Parks and Rec could be there as well as we could be there and listen to what people are saying. And, we had an idea earlier, Elise, about putting our pictures and contact information at the, in the harbor master's office or right outside. We need to do that. We absolutely need to do that because people people stop me and ask me, are you still on the Marina Commission? Yeah, I guess I am. And they want to vent. That people want to talk to us. They want to say, what can you do about this? So I think that's something we could take that for action. That should be an action item to let's schedule and advertise a marina tenants meeting. We'll have to come up with a suitable date for that and get that done.
We did discuss that in the long-term project.
wonderful.
And we discussed possibly right after the new year, because we are heading into the holiday season, and we should also know more about the large grant we just applied for. We're supposed to know by the end of the year. So then I would possibly have more information on, yay, we got it, or hey, we didn't, but this is what we're going to do moving forward, so that we can better prepare and have more answers instead of it just being, I don't know, we're in the waiting game. Because we do have a couple of grants out there right now that we're in the, I don't know, we're in the waiting game currently.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate to schedule right after the first of the year. Gives us time to come up with an agenda to lead some discussions, and it would give us some clarity in terms of finance and where we are. Okay. Are there anything else on the subcommittee restructuring that we need to talk about?
So I guess next would be, do we want to make a motion to restructure them, since we've now had the discussion, and that way we can start moving forward in the correct path, or do we want to keep talking about it?
Well, I want to know restructure them to what end? How would they look? It would be my question before we can make a motion to restructure something, we have to know what we're rebuilding, right?
So instead of being short-term and long-term project, being project and community engagement, you would have the same number of members. The members might change from, because everyone was on a project committee at some point now.
Right.
You're going to pull some from either short-term or long-term into that community engagement, and the remainder would stay in that project group. Does that better clarify, or are you looking for more, JJ?
I'm just thinking how we would make a suitable motion. It would
Okay.
be to change the long-term and short-term subcommittees to community engagement and what was the other one?
Projects,
Projects.
just as a whole, instead of it being divided short and long.
Does anyone want to try to put that into motion? I mean, I can, if, okay.
I move that we restructure the
Short-term and long-term.
the short-term and long-term, that part left me, committee to a community engagement committee and a projects committee.
I second that.
Is there any discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we restructure our short and long-term committees to focus on community engagement and ongoing projects. Is that about right?
Sounds perfect. Do we need to divide up? That way we can have our subcommittee meetings next month?
No, I think we can do that after the motion, once we make them,
Okay.
since we do this correctly. So we have a motion, and it's been seconded that we do just what I said. Don't make me do it again, please. And then, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, very good. Okay. Do you want to tackle assigning people to those two committees right now? I guess she does. Yes, please.
I would like to see the same committee that we've had for short and long-term things talk more about how to divide it in a way that we can collaborate easily without lots of people attending redundant meetings. But, so I would like to leave it up to the harbor master to let us know how it's going to shape out. Is that a possibility?
So I think there's people who would enjoy working with the community group, and then there's people who would enjoy doing the project work. So I think if there's people who wish to stay project, raise your hand and do that. If you wish to work with a community angle, raise your hand and do that.
Yeah, Marita's on to something. Yes, I would much rather work on projects than deal with the community engagement aspects. Not that I don't like the community as a whole, but I personally would much rather work on a project. So,
I'm happy if you guys would like to send me an email with which committee you'd like to be on. And then if I have too many in one, we can then do rock, paper, scissors, or whatever we need to get someone into the other one.
that sounds fair.
Okay.
That
Okay.
way, we try to get everyone's wishes without you having to share everything you need to share for which committee you want to be on.
Sounds good. All right, let's move on. Ideas to improve marina revenue. I saw Mr. Goldman's here for a reason, I guess, and hopefully he's got something important to tell us. I'm assuming that's where you were planning on speaking to us?
My air conditioner is broken in my office, and I needed a place to work.
Okay, then I'll go back to the harbor master on this.
I don't have anything super brilliant at the moment. I can tell you the small boat storage for dinghies and kayaks and stand-up paddleboards is still in the works. I apologize. I am slacking on getting all of that pushed through council as fast as I thought I was going to. And I've been trying to think out of the box. When I went to the Pacific Coast Congress of Harbor Master Conference, one big thing they kept touching on is think about what you have and how it can make you money. And so I've been walking around the marina, looking at things, trying to figure out how something that we use as storage or that's a non-money maker, how that can turn around and make us money. So, like I said, I don't have anything brilliant yet. I'm still in the very infant stages of what I've got up my sleeves, but I would like to start doing some projects and start trying to find alternative revenue sources that we haven't necessarily explored in the past.
I'll add to that. We have been having discussions with a electric boat provider, right? These are power stations that we've been putting into our lots around the city. There are quite a few rebate and grant programs to provide these things. As we look at the future of the marina and boating in general, we see it both with aviation, we see it with electrical vehicles. We're starting to see it more show up at boat shows with electrical boats. So just one other type of, I guess you could call fuel or sales source is looking at that infrastructure.
So let me get this right. So if someone comes with an all-electric boat, you would have a charging station, much like you would have Electrify America or in your home garage, that way?
That is what I'm working towards, yes.
Okay.
And the program should come live in 2026 early. I met this individual again at that conference, and we've already had an additional meeting. Brian met with him last week, and they are very interested in putting infrastructure in our area, not only on the dock, but up on the shore side, so that that's an additional revenue source, kind of a captured audience. If we're one of the only level 3 chargers in town, people are going to come to the marina. They're going to have 30 minutes to kill. They're going to walk the docks. They're going to engage. So trying to kill multiple birds with one stone if I can.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Please, Kathy.
Does revenue that we get from the parking lot area count for marina revenue, or does that count for all of parks revenue?
It's ours because the main lot is not charged because it serves for the park and the marina. So any parking along the fence line is straight marina revenue, or any of the launch fees are straight marina revenue as well. That's your fence line, your long-term parking, yeah. We have tried to discourage anything but boats in our long-term parking because there for a while, there wasn't anywhere to put RVs, and we could have had an entire lot of RVs, but we decided that was not the way we wanted to go.
Yeah, just a quick comment. It isn't just boats even. A lot of folks are using small engines like little torpedoes and such for their dinghies. So having a fast charge system for those would be, I think, excellent.
Okay, anything else for ideas? I saw this on the draft, the ideas to improve marina revenue, and I wanted to send it out earlier, but we are, so everyone would have an opportunity to give this some thought, but we are restricted as when these meeting agenda can go out. Isn't that correct? This can only go out a few days before the meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I sent it out 5 days
Yeah.
before the meeting.
Yeah, I was hoping that if we do have these things that require some thought, that we can send them out a little bit earlier. I'm not sure what it would take to send out these agenda items a little bit sooner, so we have an opportunity to brainstorm about what we want to say at these meetings.
So if there's something like that you would like a lot of thought, why don't we do that in part 7, the determination of the future agenda item? And then we can talk about it today, and you would have the entire month until the next meeting, and we'd make sure to put that on the agenda for the following meeting.
That would be great,
Yeah.
except we'd have to identify them and then put them on, and now we're a month further down the road. So I guess my intent was to try to get this, when this came out, initially we saw this when it came out in the draft, which was a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to send it out to everyone so they could start thinking about it, but that didn't work. So we have to find a way. Maybe we can do it just by personal communication. Yeah, Byron?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would much prefer to get an agenda a week or more ahead of time. 5 days is just not enough to even contemplate what is going on.
Is it possible that we don't send out the full agenda, but just the topics that you want to have more time with?
That makes perfect sense, but I'm not sure how we communicate with each other without violating the Open Public Meetings Act. So there is that to think about. So let me work on this, and I'll figure out if there's certain topics that I want. I'll ask Elise to send it out, and then it'll eventually get to Kim for the agenda.
And you're basically approving an agenda a couple of weeks ahead of time, aren't you?
Well, I'm seeing the draft. That's
Draft,
correct. Yeah. That is correct. Yes, sir, Brian.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So the original intent of the subcommittees was for that purpose, to get
Yeah.
together, have kind of a working group to hash through some of these discussions and dive into some of the information with staff, and then come back with kind of a polished presentation or proposal for motion to the commission. Maybe that's something you might want to consider in your subcommittees, is to have kind of this midway point discussion item on some of these things, depending on what it is. We do have to be a little bit careful. I'll have to double check the bylaws, but I think by code, it tells us like when information goes out, and so I'll have to check that. And we want to make sure that we also have enough time from when you all are able to get us the finalized agenda items, that staff have time to go and research and get good information together to put in the packet.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to, are there any subcommittee updates? Subcommittee updates? Anyone? No? Elise, anything?
So safety ladders was a big topic in both.
Yeah, that's on my list of things to bring up here.
Okay, so we talked about, I kind of put the ball back in the subcommittee's court at that point, because there is no code for marinas for safety ladders. Right now, there's 2 schools of thought. You have a lot or you have none. We're kind of in between. And I had asked the subcommittees that if you guys are wanting to add more, totally fine with that, but we just would like to know where you want them, how many you want, what style you want, how much that's going to cost, and think about the labor that it's going to cost for maintenance to put them in and to maintain them as well. Because I can tell you right now, the biannual safety ladder cleaning takes one individual about half a day. And I think we have approximately 15 around the marina currently.
Okay. I do want to talk more about safety ladders here as I get further down in the agenda, if that's all right with everybody.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other subcommittee updates that we need to talk about at this time? I have some things that went to the long-term projects, and I'm glad Mr. Goldman is here, because I think he's probably going to be able to answer some of my questions. and hopefully his air conditioning will stay off when he can hang out here a little bit longer. Elise, you want to do your harbor master updates now?
Sure.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, we attended the Pacific Coast Congress of Harbor Master Conference down in Seaside. It was myself and Assistant Harbor Master Charlie. It was fantastic networking as always. As I mentioned, we've already reached out and working with an electric boat company. Found a company that can get electrical meters for about a third of the cost that we've been paying. And they could possibly be radio read, which is something that we have not looked into because we were paying over $200 a meter just to have them digital, not analog. And so that was very interesting for me. He was like, oh yeah, you're getting ripped off. Good to know. And we also were able to tour the City of Warrenton docks. So it was interesting to see that it doesn't matter if you're municipally owned in Washington or Oregon, you get treated the same. You're an enterprise fund. You never have enough money, you never have enough staff, but you make it work and you enjoy your job and you keep rolling. It was just fun to get that networking. Then the next thing is Marina staff and the fire department have now completed 8 hours of training together. We have done the walk through the marina, show the fire department where all of the oil response equipment is located, where the standpipes are located for fighting fires, and just got to know each other because there's been a lot of turnover in the fire department and the marina since the last training was held. We did actually launch the hard boom and did a mock-up. We called the agencies and everything as a boat was sinking in the marina and leaking fuel. It was interesting because that hard boom had not been out of the trailer for a training in over almost 15 years. So we have now decided that this is an annual thing that we are all going to keep doing. It works for the staff's HAZWOPER training. Since we are a Class 4 fuel facility, we wanted to make sure the staff was sufficiently trained, at least full-time staff, and how to manage an emergency response. And then again, we're working with the fire department. We did learn in a fuel spill that Marina staff takes charge, not the fire department. We are incident command, which is something we had never been told. So that was a nice change of mindset for me, getting to go from, I've called 911, now it's your turn, to, oh, hey, by the way, you're in charge indefinitely. So for us, it was great training. They actually did also put someone down in an engine room and have to act like it was a hazardous situation where there was fumes or something in the engine room and had to get that individual off the boat. Us in the fire department learned you need about 6 people to successfully get someone off a boat without bumping their head, knees, or feet as you're bringing them off. So that is one way the Marina staff is going to play a role, is as a second line of, we're on the dock, you can pass this individual off to us, because you can't really put a stretcher on most boats. They used basically a tarp with handles. It was called a mega mover, and they were able to move these individuals around the boat successfully and then get them up the dock. And we did train down on S dock because that's where most of the medical emergencies come into the fuel dock. And I wanted them to see the more steep, narrow gangway to have to try to take someone up and bumping all the way up to the ambulance, and how to successfully do that. Did you have input, Byron?
Yeah, I just want, what, do we have any plan for how we handle a sinking boat without haul-out facilities? What do we do
Yeah.
if a boat's actually sinking in the marina?
So at that point, if our trash pumps can't keep up, which for this scenario, there was no way. We planned that the boat was up to the flybridge, and it was a boat undercover on Sea Dock. We end up calling National Marine Response, and then we'll get our divers on board, trying to get float bags underneath to see if we can at least get the leak stopped or to get the hole plugged. Covered brought a whole new element that initially we didn't even think about, with those their lines being banjo wire tight. we didn't really want 7 people undercover working on this boat when the cover could come down at any point. So we thought about, do we cut the lines? I mean, like I said, it was a great hands-on scenario for all of us, and we had to all actually think through. And to get it to where you could semi-walk away took us about 2 hours. We did a Marina walk on October 4th. We had Councilmember Arms come with us, but we had 6 other community members that came down, learned more about the marina, the history of it, the wildlife that visit. Had one individual that was super excited to come down for the youth sailing regatta that's happening at the end of the month, that they get to see all the kids racing around out in the bay. And we plan to do those twice a year in coordination with the Recreation Department. Commercial crabbing was a quick 6-day season. They brought in 260,000 pounds of Dungeness crab. I'm assuming most of the Region 2-8 came through Oak Harbor Marina, but I have an email out to Fish and Wildlife to confirm that, because we had 6 boats. I know they were limited to 20 pots per license, and up in Anacortes, they had over 1 million pounds that they could catch, versus down here was only 260,000, and they could put 30 pots per license. So that's why we did not see a huge number of commercial guys come in. Recreation crab has reopened. We are actually seeing some people go out and crab in October, which up until the last couple of days, we've had fantastic weather, so I can understand why. And then Marina crew is working hard as usual. They did replace the sill and the lower portion of one of the building walls at the storage unit, because when those were put in, they were built first, asphalt poured around them. So yeah, it does not make a lot of sense why you have a trough for everything to go into and just soak up and rot. So we have fixed that, and there's only a couple of those sections left, and then we will have done all of them along the edges of the building so that we can extend the life of those. Did you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Brian, please.
So we've been working with Development Services on the update of the comp plan and the expansion of the Parks and Recreation section, which includes the marina. And we added several marina elements and tweaks to that. Here, I'll let you go. Share the screen.
Okay. So we have tried to figure out how to use the comp plan to assist us in future grant applications. So we've been told if you can reference that this is in your comp plan or your emergency response plan in Island County, that will assist you in getting funding. So I've tried to look into how we can connect the marina to downtown. I actually was working on having a marina trail system back when COVID hit. When we came back to work, however, maintenance kind of took off, and I didn't have as much time to sit around and try to plan beautiful trail signs. So there is some of that already in the works. We just got to tweak it a little bit and fine tune it. Possibly putting a part of the Washington Trail, Water Trails campsite at Catalina Park. There's one at Windjammer currently. I mean, I know that's not a long paddle to camp over at Catalina, but expanding waterfront access. And then the enhancements to the Marina Improvement Plan. I had quite a few of those. I broke those down into different sections. And I'm happy to go through any of them. One of them, JJ referenced, or Chair Jones referenced the water system. Updating that to an HDPE system to where we wouldn't have to turn the water off as much. We would have more flexibility. Also, if we were to buy the welder and or train a staff member, we could then possibly be the city's HDPE welder, and that's another revenue source, because that could become an interdepartmental charge that we could have put out there. I understand our restrooms need facelifts. The lift stations need facelifts. And unfortunately, it is very expensive to move a hole in the ground that stores what no one wants to look at.
Can I interrupt for
Yeah.
just a second? Where are we with having to move that lift station? Are they serious about
Yes.
wanting that to move?
Very serious.
So now we're going to have to, and we're only talking about moving it maybe at 3 or 4 feet, is that?
Correct.
But we're going to have to excavate and dig an entire hole and then trench everything over there where the lift station is functioning properly, correct? Where it
At
is?
this time, we are probably one power failure away from it not functioning
Okay.
properly, however. And it is the oldest one in the city.
Okay.
And the electrical system, so we are not up to code with that one because it is inside the closet with electrical panels and a water heater.
Do we know, has Public Works told you what it's going to cost to dig that hole and move everything?
We're looking at about $110,000.
Holy mackerel.
Just for the hole.
Just for the hole?
And
Plus
putting
the-
the well back in. I think they would be able to tap into the current line that is trenched over, that connects to the sewer going all the way
Okay.
up.
And for those commission members who don't know, we're talking about, there's a lift station is it in the men's room or the ladies' room?
It's in between, actually,
It's
in the
actually in
janitor's
between.
closet.
And it has to, it's actually undercover right now, and it has to move from where it is to be exposed to the elements. It's got to be accessible and not inside a closet.
Which is
And-
not a big deal. The other one is exposed.
Right.
That's not the problem.
Right.
It's the cost of moving
It's
it.
it's the moving cost. And of course, that $110,000 would come out of Marina reserves.
Yes, it is completely Marina, because if the Marina were to go away, that lift station would not be needed.
Okay?
I'm trying to get creative on that one, too.
Yeah,
I promise.
I'm glad I interrupted. Okay, I'm sorry. but
That's okay.
Let's just keep going if
Nope, we're
there's-
good. I also put, the harbor master office is 51 years old. It will probably need to be repurposed eventually. I would like to have that with multi-use, where you have office space. That's how you attract things like a Freedom Boat Club. They require an office space at your facility. So currently, we wouldn't meet one of their requirements, even though we could be a prime candidate, because there's one in Everett and one in Anacortes, but there's not one in Oak Harbor. And we have similar amenities to what they would get in Bellingham.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, he was just playing. He's just playing.
What's a
A Freedom Boat Club, they're.
Freedom Boat
yeah,
Club
go
is a boat rental where they would fill like 28-foot slips that we don't currently rent out year-round, with 5 boats that individuals can rent for the day or the week. And it is becoming more and more popular with my generation, because we can't afford to buy a boat, so we rent a boat for a week or so.
It's very popular in Canada, very popular.
It's subscription-based,
Yeah.
boat timeshare based.
Right, it is a boat, it is fractional ownership, as
Yep.
they say. Yeah.
Then, as you read through the comp plan, like I said, I tried to pull anything and everything for the marina that we could qualify for, or that we could tack on to help put in grant applications to help pay for these things that we're looking to do. Shoreline restoration is one that, I know we have one storm drain in particular that has collapsed. It functions semi. We cannot find the outfall. We've even put dye in, and it just appears out between the shoreline and S-Dock. No rhyme or reason. So that is something that we are going to have to address in the upcoming future, and if we can get funding because we've added it to a comp plan, then I am more than happy to have someone else pay for anything and everything.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. So we did have a meeting with Moffett Nichols on our permitting and dredging project and our breakwater project. So I'll give a few updates. One's a big one. First, we're waiting on tribes. That shouldn't hold up the timeline. Same with the DMO relative to what we're dredging. We are going to go ahead forward with the dredge it all in the permit. That includes ADOC. In case we want to dredge that in the future, that's not currently within the dredging profile, but we just want to cover everything. That way we don't have to go back and redo any of that process. We are putting together the amendment to the agreement, both with an amendment letter and amendment within the agreement for the breakwater portion of that design and permitting. The big update is that the government shutdown is having a major impact on the project. So, like, each day of shutdown is equating to a week of pushback. And so we have been pushed back weeks and weeks. When we first got into this, we were looking at a start of 2026 for all the permitting to be completed. The Army Corps waits on the NOAA fisheries review and approval before they will sign off on that JARPA. The SEPA, the review from the city, that has been completed, but it's the JARPA and the NOAA fisheries that is holding everything up. So initially it was aiming for February, and then that went to a look at April because we had not yet been assigned the caseworker within NOAA fisheries. That still hasn't happened yet, but now with the government shutdown, they are telling us possibly June. That 2026, yes. So that we're still okay within the project, that we'll make that within the fish window. We're still okay with going out to bids, but it's the possibly June that's starting to make us a little bit nervous. So we do not have, they won't even Moffitt Nichols will not update the timeline until we're assigned a caseworker from NOAA Fisheries to really be able to nail down when that date is. And until the shutdown is complete, that's not going to happen. So it will remain in this. We know it's going to be pushed back going into summer now. We don't know by how much yet. We're waiting and seeing how long the shutdown lasts for. So we're not quite there yet to start considering, okay, is this going to have an impact on the project or not? We are continuing forward with the breakwater, getting that amendment into the agreement, and then going forward with getting that design and the permitting going on it. The shoreline survey for that should only be about $13,000, and we'll plug that into the siltation modeling. We did get letters of support from Senator Murray and Senator Larson's office, which was a huge win for us as far as the grant. It's still a little bit of a long shot, probably for our first round. Normally, they're not awarded first round, but you never know. Sometimes it's who you know, right? So hopefully, we will at least get some traction there and get it on the radar. We are hopeful for that. The range for the study should be about $150,000 to $170,000 total for the breakwater. We will do a check-in in November and have Moffitt Nichols come and just give you guys an update. Hopefully, we have a better idea of the timeline, but I think it's probably a good time to come and let you guys ask some questions and educate some of our newer commissioners on where we are at with that project. And we should be about that time ready to bring something to council for the breakwater portion of the project. In the next coming months, we'll also put out for a rate study. I don't know if we'll go through BST or if we'll look for somewhere else. We did check in with Moffitt Nickel on other possibilities for doing that, but that's something that we'll want to do here within the next year as we get ready for the next round of look at our budget and rate increases. So that's the updates on the dredging project. More to come.
So I have just a couple of questions from that, and thank you for that. That was great. So that we don't expect that there'll be any dredging prior to 2027. Is that correct?
Probably there will be. So the fish window goes from August 2026 through February 2027.
Okay, so there is no dredging, or there is dredging possible during that period of time, in theory.
Pending permits.
Sure, but now, is there a plan? Has Moffitt Nichols developed the plan that how we're going to remove fingers, remove piers, and is there a plan developed by the marinas as to what to do with the boats during that period of time? I just don't see it. If we can't get the permits, I just can't imagine that the dredging would take place in that fish window It's through February 2027, correct? I just can't imagine that, but get back to my question. Do we have a plan as to how it's going to take place? How the fingers are going to be removed, how the docks are going to be removed, how they're going to be replaced? In what order and what configuration are they going to be replaced? Has that been done?
Yeah, that plan's done by Moffitt Nichols. As far as like, if you're talking about the logistics of that, that'll be done with the construction company when they come in. As far as like relocation of boats during that, that's something that we'll manage on our side of the house.
I've already started having some of those conversations with tenants. I have a couple of liveaboards that we're looking to have extended periods where they are going to be gone during that time frame, and had looked at, they may just put their boat up on the hard since they wouldn't be around, wouldn't be on their boat. And we will, as soon as we know when construction's going to start, there will be, you'll get sick of seeing emails and notices from me, because we are going to over-communicate on that one, because I realize that while I think I communicate enough, it is apparently not enough. So you'll be getting almost like 2 emails a week saying, okay, we're 2 weeks out, we're 2 months out, you know, just a heads up.
Yeah,
Of
is
planning.
there a plan to work with Mark at the boatyard to take boats out of the water for a period of time and put them on the hard, and just so that you're not, juggling boats all day?
I've not reached out to him yet. No.
Yeah, and a lot of that will also depend on the desires of the individual boat owners, what they want to do. But we'll work with all the
And my
tenants.
last question before Byron hits the button, because he's really anxious, isn't this a good time to add more? If we're gonna reconfigure the docks, if we're gonna move the docks, and this is gonna get to one of my favorite questions, is it's pump outs at every individual slip. Every marina I go to now recently has, they just have, the plumbing is at every slip or every 5 slips, where you just roll a cart down there, you plug it in, and you can pump your boat out from there. That would solve your problem about, the marina staff doesn't particularly want to run a mobile pump or run a boat-based pump out. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to remove the docks and remove the fingers, we have to put them back, we have to put the water back, we have to put the electricity back. What a perfect time to put vacuum systems out there. So we can talk about that at a later time, but this is something, and I just can't imagine that it would be that expensive in the big scheme of things, especially if we want to be a clean marina. So go ahead, Byron.
Well, I was just going to say how what Brian just reported on is, that's one of the reasons why I think an all-marina meeting is a real good thing, because there are a lot of people, I think, out there that are trying to make the decision now, do I pull my boat out of the marina, because they haven't heard any good updates about when dredging might take place. And if we can say that, well, it's going to take place, but we've got these problems with permitting and so forth, that helps a lot of people to make reasonable decisions rather than just jumping and pulling their boat out of the marina right now.
Do we need an all-tenant meeting sooner than the first of the year? I mean, I'm happy to do so, but we are probably rushing it, and it may not be as structured.
I just think that some real good updates, like what Brian just reported on, that needs to be communicated to the marina tenants.
How
Otherwise,
would you like those communicated? Because I did send out in the rate increase email that dredging was coming in 2026, so I have tried to do that. I just need to know how to give you information, because I'm apparently not successfully doing so.
Well, no, it's just that, yeah, I read that too, but then I didn't hear all the stuff that Brian had to say right now about, possible permit problems and all of that. And those are things that I think, I'm not sure you can communicate that very well with an email. I think it takes, questions and answers and that kind of thing.
Well, keep in mind, that update just came from our meeting a few days ago.
Yeah, I know.
We can include that in the next communication now. But.
Okay.
Kathy, before I get to you, I think it probably would not be a bad idea to try to have this an all Marina tenant meeting prior to the first of the year. Because I think there's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot, that people, when I was walking back from my boat yesterday, or Sunday, yesterday, people stopped me and asked me about their dredge fee increase. And they said, well, when is the dredging starting? Next week? And I said, no, it's not starting next week. And I said it will probably take place in the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027. And he said, well, I'm going to pay this increase and not have any dredging going down. So I'm glad Mr. Goldman's here, because he can tell us when they're going to get the money, or when they have to apply for the bonds, or whatever, however else that works. But, I just think, let's try to do it before let's try to do it before Christmas, so we can look at dates and see what works for everybody. Kathy?
I'm concerned about rushing that meeting because we want to have a full meeting so that we're not calling a meeting every time we think of something. The problem with November and December is participation. People are thinking about their holidays and their trips and their whatevers. I don't know that they want to come to a meeting. My experience with volunteers is they don't. They won't show.
Well, these aren't volunteers, and I'm not poo-pooing anything that you just said. I agree, but I think this would be, I would have no trouble coming up with an agenda that would keep people there for hours, and that would not be difficult to do. And we don't want to do that. We want to keep it. We want to be able to listen to tenants, but we also want to be able to give them information. And I think we could certainly do that. And this would be one evening. You walk from your boat, or you drive to the into the yacht club parking lot, and and come and listen. And who knows, we may get 25% of the marina tenants show up, maybe, if we're lucky. So I don't think we'd be rushing anything, quite frankly. Yeah, Gabe.
Maybe this first meeting could be largely informational, kind of like a Marina State of the Union, with the end being a time for people to suggest agenda items for the future meeting. But seeing as this is a new concept, or one that hasn't been done in a long time, I think having a first one that's kind of a dry run to get people thinking, oh, this happened, I didn't make this one, maybe I'll come to the one in January. I think it would just get the ball rolling, get the information out, and maybe it could be recorded and put up wherever, so people could just get involved however they want.
Great idea.
So, and follow on to that is, I think that's exactly right. Is there any reason why we could not have, since there's so much going on right now, another one in the spring, which we would tell them, hey, we're going to do this one now just to bring you guys up to speed. All these things are in motion. By spring, we're going to know a lot more. And then have another meeting to brief people on that. I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say that that's definitely doable. So the target date for construction is mid-September, and so that's our date. So if someone asks, when's the dredging happening? Mid-September. Even if if the permits and everything don't get set off until June, July, we're still on target for that. So a late spring, as we get ready for that, everything will be fairly solidified by then. We'll have contractor selection going on, and have dates locked in. So late spring would be a good time to get everyone together, and so everyone knows, hey, this is how dredging is going to work. Here's how we're going to be moving boats, and relay all that information. If you want to do something ahead of that, we can give them an update. Just keep in mind, a lot of this stuff's very soft, and like I said, we don't have set changes to the timeline until some things actually happen, and then we can update that. So it's guesstimates right now. We just know that there's impacts, but we don't know the extent until people get back to work.
Thanks, Brian. That's really good information. Kathy, do you have some?
I do. I have a question for Elise. Back to the commercial crabbers. Do we have a way that we can assign, that we can basically monetize that? How much money came to the city because 2.5 tons of crab were brought in that
Yes.
otherwise wouldn't have been?
Yeah, we can monetize that, and we did for the grant that we just applied for and should know by the end of the year. using past year's information. Because we know approximately what they get per pound, and we know how many pounds were brought in. Luckily, we are fortunate to have the Puget Sound Crab Association president crab out of our marina. So he was one of our letters of support. And so that if I ever need any of that information, I can shoot him an email or a text and say, hey, I need this really off-the-wall number. Is there any way you can get it for me? And I've never had an issue whatsoever. We have a great working relationship with him.
But the benefit to the city is more than, it
Yes.
is really unrelated to their profits. It's
Right.
related to, did they go to lunch? Did they have beer? How much is spent in our town because they did that?
That's something we're exploring for a lot more than just commercial crabbers.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at how many people stay on their boats too. For example, 4th of July weekend, we had 117 reservations. Average boat size was 30 feet. That indicates not everybody stayed on board because we had a lot of small little crabbers. But did they stay in a hotel? Did they stay at a campground? Did they stay at the Navy Lodge? We don't know at this point, but we are looking into trying to figure out some of those numbers so that we have that information for different grant applications and different funding options as well. Because we're not just where people stay on their boats, we're where people store their boats. And what do they do while they're storing their boats? So we're looking into that. It's a slow process, and I don't know that we've ever tried to find those numbers in 51 years. So trying to figure out how to do that has been kind of interesting, but.
The Deception Pass Park Foundation took to just asking people how many stayed in town, how many went somewhere else, how many, did you go to town for dinner, did you, it was just a real easy, very informal kind of survey they would do.
I think it's great for our new community engagement committee.
I do think so.
Just a heads up.
It seemed like I had another question, but I forgot.
Okay, I think that's it. Is that it for you, Elise, Harbor Master?
I think I am.
Okay, let's go to the
okay.
Marina Advisory Commission comments. Let me kick it off, because I want to start by thanking Brian that he answered most of the questions that I wrote down, and I really appreciate him doing that. I hope everybody got an opportunity to look at the city administrator's report, especially the bottom of the monthly marina revenue. And thank you very much for showing last month's and last year's. That's really been helpful. I don't know, I'm one that's really dismayed by the fact that we went from generating $135,900 in revenue in August to generating $111,206 in revenue in September. And I don't know how that could be with the occupancy rate staying exactly the same. So that doesn't make any sense to me, so.
A lot of that's fuel related, if you
Fuel
see
and
gallons.
yeah, I saw that, but still, that should be disturbing to all of us. And my fear is that when we get October's numbers, it's going to be even lower, because there's an awful lot of empty slips out there right now. And I'm not sure whether they're the seasonal empty slips or people are saying, if you look at the price increase over the last, maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, my marina bill has gone up about 25% or more. And I think everybody is in the same situation. And especially this month, in October, we added the October raise that everybody should have been expecting, and then we added the additional dredge fee. So that was a big shock to people when they saw that. And so I think we may be in for people leaving. We may. I'm not sure, but comments on that? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, well, just on the fact that you said it was fuel related, but we aren't including fuel thanks to a change we
Oh,
recently
it's in
made.
gallons, yeah, not
So,
dollars.
so that's not, those are hard numbers, as the decrease from 135 to 111,000.
So I also keep in mind, there's a seasonality to the marina, right?
Sure.
And I think it doesn't speak so much of loss of business as we come into the shoulder season, so much as we had such an amazing summer. If you look back at the benchmark of 2025 September to 2024 September, we are above in revenue. So we did better this year at the same time from last year. So just a couple things to keep in mind. And we do have that kind of bell curve in fuel sales as well as mortgage visitors. We did see a little bit of a reduction because hydros didn't come this year with some of our transient mortgage. We had a few people that canceled because of that early in the summer. But we still had a really strong summer and did really well in July and August and even into September. Again, better than last year.
Yeah.
So a question is, I know that we're seeing a rate increase, I saw it in my bill as well. Are the other marinas doing the same? In other
Yes.
words, if we have people who are thinking of leaving our marina and going to another marina, are they also going to see that rate increase at that other marina? I mean, that can be a leveling action there.
So I can tell you from being at the PCC and talking with other harbor masters, that rate increase is pretty standard. Des Moines was doing a 15% flat rate increase unless you were on their new docks, and that was a 30% rate increase. Port of Kingston is doing a 10% flat rate increase. Paulsbo was going to do approximately, I think, a 3 to 5. Cap Sani is going to do a 3 to 4% rate increase. A lot of other marinas are not doing their rate increases until the new year. They do a January to January calendar where we do an October to October. So we're a little ahead of what you're going to see reflected in other marinas in 2026.
We've been through this, the rate increase, and quite frankly, a flat 10% across the board rate increase looks really good to me personally, but it didn't work out that way. Okay. I want to talk briefly about safety ladders. I talked to someone who actually fell off their boat recently. And he was lucky there was someone there to help him get back in. But there were no visual cues as to where the nearest ladder was. That may be something we need to look into, whether we can find a way, maybe paint them some obscene color, and where you know where they are. Because if you're in the water, you're struggling for your life. If you've got something you can see, that might help you. Do you have a...
That was something that the ocean inspector that I reached out to brought up, is that some marinas create like a pseudo safety center, and they put a safety ladder, a fire extinguisher, and a life ring all in the same location. So you're going to see that life ring and fire extinguisher that you might not see that safety ladder up above you.
Right.
So that is something we can look into doing. The fire extinguisher will be our limiting factor in that, because their regulation is more strict than the life ring. And then again, with the safety ladders not having any code.
Right, but I'm with you in there, but something visual, that if you're in the water, you don't have to know, oh, there's a safety ladder at B18.
And you're at F13.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Marina?
So a quick thought, if we can get this coordinated where we have a safety center, I think that would be a great thing to add to the meeting.
Yeah.
With
Yes.
with a little map of the marina and say, hey, when you are wandering around, pay attention. It's kind of like on the when you're on an airplane and they say, hey, here's your exits.
We are working on updating our safety site map. It is, I believe, from the 90s. So it is not quite up to date. Some things have moved a little. The boat is still listed as the Acorn, which was the previous workboat. So that is something that we'll be doing within the next month. And then once that's complete, I was going to attach it with the newsletter and say, hey, just so you know, here's the Marina's new up-to-date safety site map. Feel free to see if you can find all these things as you walk to your boat. Kind of like a scavenger hunt with safety items.
Sure, and the best one I ever saw, Elise, was, I guess was Everett. At the entrance, at the gate to every finger, it says there are safety ladders located at this, and this slip. That would be very easy for us to do, to put on every locked gate.
It'd be very easy.
Just so, you may not remember that, but you might. So that's all. Okay, let's see. I do want to talk to you about, and I'm glad that the Browns and Steve Dahl was here to talk about mobile pump out. That's something I know that we've discussed and disagreed on. We're the only marina I can find that doesn't have a way to either pump you out from a boat or from a vacuum station at the slip. We have to do better. You know, it's now, you can't discharge into the sea here. We've got, and where our pump out is at the fuel dock is problematic in the way if you come home from your cruise and there's 4 boats waiting for fuel, what are you going to do? So we need to talk about this probably in person at the office and see if we can come up with some sort of way to make that work.
And the tide is going out.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to talk about that. I want to turn it over to the other commissioners. Anybody have things and thoughts that they've been thinking about for the last month?
I just want to, as apparently the new long-term communication person, to work with you on our newsletter that goes out and ways to make that a more effective communication than maybe what it is, and to consider the timing of when it goes out. People need to hear things probably 5 times before they even realize they've heard it. So we have to get on that kind of wavelength with them.
We would love help with the newsletter, because that is something that we try to put pertinent information, but again, you guys hear things that we don't hear. So if you're hearing someone bring up the same topic 6 times and I haven't written about it in the newsletter yet, maybe it's time. I will say putting the newsletter above the urinal in all the men's restroom is probably the best thing we've ever done, because it is amazing how many people walk up to you and say, so I was reading in the bathroom. And you know it's going to be good after that. But yeah, that's probably the best communication form we found.
As Elise mentioned earlier, we have 2 youth sailing regattas. The middle schoolers are going to be sailing, this Saturday. And that's a new thing for them, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be windy, so if you want to see some carnage, come on down. And then the following weekend, it's a regional regatta for the high schoolers. That'll be Saturday and Sunday.
Cool.
I just wanted to say thanks for engaging with the fire department on the rescue aspects and if we have a boat going down. I'm really tickled to hear that has happened. That's really good. Thank you.
It's something we've been trying to do for years, and we've just finally been like, okay, how do we make this happen? It's only really been 1 shift, so the other 2 shifts we've said, please send them down. We'll walk them around. We're happy to do drills with them as well, because they have 3 different shifts at the fire department. And so we know B shift fairly well now, but we don't know A and C as well.
All right. The determination of future agenda items, I'm going to work with the harbor master on that and come up with some things. Next, unless someone has one right now that they'd like to add for, because I have a list of things just from today's meeting that will be future agenda items.
The pump out vote.
You bet. You bet. Okay.
The meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. I got them all written down right here. Okay.
And I've got one other, we ought, a way of communicating with the city council. I think we ought to have a.
Hey, Scooby, will you turn your mic on?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'd like to see a way of communicating with the city council more formally than we've been doing.
Okay. We'll figure that out. All right. Next meeting is November 10th, 2025. If anyone has anything else, I'm ready to call this quits at 4:15. I think we're adjourned. Thank you very much.